Hello everyone and welcome to Where is Xur, IGN show where we find Xur and we look at his inventory together. Today you can find Xur down on the EDZ, that's the European Dead Zone. He's over here in the Winding Cove up through a cave here on the cliff. So let's go and pay him a visit. Once you touch down on the EDZ, go ahead and get on your Sparrow, go straight ahead, immediately take a right and find Xur through some caves up on a cliff. And here is our friend Xur. Let's go ahead and see what he's got in store this week. Alright, so first up, he's got Lord of Wolves. This is a shotgun. It has been a really great part of the meta at times, a really bad part of the meta at times, but it's definitely a gun you want in your inventory either way. So go ahead and pick this thing up if you don't have it yet. We've got Lucky Raspberry. This is a great exotic, and it's got a very good roll. 68 overall stats is about as good as it gets, almost. 14 mobility would normally be bad, but it's great because it's a hunter, high discipline. Really the only drawback of this exotic roll is that it's got low resilience, which typically you don't want in today's meta. But still, overall, great roll. Pick this up if you're a hunter and you don't have one that's better. We've got Crest of Alpha Lupi for the Titans. I like this roll in terms of its distribution. Really low mobility, high intellect, pretty decent resilience. Unfortunately, though, it's only got 64 overall points, which, you know, if you've got a roll with worse distribution, maybe this will be effectively a little bit better. But, you know, 64 on an exotic, not great. So, unfortunately, Titans did not do well this week. Then we've got the Geomag Stabilizers. This is also a good roll, not as good as the Hunters. It's also got high mobility, which depending on what you're doing with your Warlock might not be good for you. However, it's a good exotic. It's got high stats. Again, really the only gripe I have, aside from higher than you might want in mobility on a Warlock, is the resilience. The resilience is 8, just like on the Hunter exotic. So, you know, that sort of makes me a little sad. But moving on, we've got the exotic weapons to look at. First is Hawkmoon. Hawkmoon's roll this week is okay. It's got rangefinder, it's got heavy grip, which is decent. Alloy magazine is always good. But, you know, it's missing my personal favorite, opening shot. We've definitely seen better rolls from Xur. So, you know, pick up that one if you need it, but we've definitely seen better. And then Dead Man's Tail is sort of the same, maybe even a little worse. You know, I really have mentioned that I don't like this weapon without Vorpal on it, which it doesn't have. It does have Outlaw, which is nice, but yeah, we've definitely seen better rolls of Dead Man's Tail, so a little underwhelming for both of these weapons this week as well. With that said, let's move on to legendary weapons. We've got Fire Fright, which is back from last week. I would say probably a worse roll than last week. It's got Fragile Focus, which is decent, but, you know, Surrounded, which is good for auto rifles, but they're all very situational, so, you know, maybe we could probably do better than this would be my guess. Then we've got Death Adder. I actually really like this one. Quick Draw is great on submachine guns because it just allows you to yank that gun out real quick and start blasting away, which is great in PvP. I am a PvP player myself, so I quite enjoy that. And then it's also got Feeding Frenzy, which lets you reload faster by getting kills. Also really good in PvP, and also synergizes really well with the ability to pull the weapon out quick, just getting kills. And then, of course, it's got a Handling Masterwork, which makes the quick draw situation even more appealing to me. So I really am interested in trying this one out. I might take this into trials because it kind of makes me smile. So yeah, that's probably my top pick this week, is that Death Adder roll. Ikelos SMG, Killing Wind, Tap the Trigger. I don't really like Tap the Trigger too much on SMGs. I do like Killing Wind, obviously, and it's obviously got Rasputin's Arsenal because it is a Warmind gun. But yeah, this one's okay. I prefer Death Adder personally, but maybe that's because I'm more of a PvP guy. Then we've got Judgment of Kel'Garath. So I did want to talk about this one because I think it's really interesting. Xur pretty much never sells glaives, possibly because there aren't too many legendary glaives in the games, but in the game at all. But he's selling the one this week, and I kind of like it. So I'm probably going to pick this thing up. It's got shield duration, masterwork. It's got a movable object, which is a great perk. Let's just go over these perks in case you aren't familiar, because glaives are a little less used, I'd say, in the sandbox. A movable object, dealing range damage, grants increased weapon energy while you're stationary and your shield raised. So this is a defensive play. Obviously, you just pull out your shield or pull out your glaive, block with it, and then you get you get more weapon energy when you're stationary, so that's kind of cool. And then close to melee is another perk for Glaives, which Glaive projectile final blows improve Glaive melee damage. Glaive projectile or melee damage extends the duration. So it's really just about like killing things, then piling on melees, and then keeping that damage going so that you can keep the perk rolling. And then it's got ambush and Hawkeye breach armaments, which are both origin traits, but definitely nice to have. And then it's got a shield duration masterwork. So shield duration obviously goes really well with a movable object and getting more weapon energy, because you can just hold your shield longer if you're standing still. And then close to melee just allows you to follow that up by blasting something and then hammering away with melee. So I like this Glaive. I'm going to pick it up. I'm pick it up right now. There we go. All right. Deafening Whisper. I like this grenade launcher. Doesn't have blinding grenades though, so skip it. I just can't get excited about that. Blast Batu, however, I am a little excited about because it has spike grenades. If a grenade launcher has spike grenades or blinding grenades, if it's a special, I'm happy. And so I'm happy with spike grenades. Threat Detector, less so. Not really my favorite, and Wellspring less so. So I would say, although it has spike grenades and reload speed masterwork, both of which I love, the other perks are pretty underwhelming to me, so I'd probably skip that one. And then finally, depending on which class you're looking at, we are currently looking at the Titan. You've got the class sword here. So we've got Thresh, Whirlwind Blade. These swords are fine if you don't have them, especially if you don't have them for like your Warlock or your Hunter or something. Log into whichever class you need it for and grab it. I've got a bunch of these, so I'm not really excited by them. And then with that, we'll move on to Legendary Armor. The headline this week is that no one got good legendary armor, any of the classes. You can see here 52, 53, 58, 51. Terrible. Terrible armor. It's like this for hunters. It's like this for warlocks. So if you were hoping to get a good piece for trials this week, I have bad news. We can go over this one. It's got really low mobility, really high discipline, 25. If they had more points into it in general, it might be good, but because it's 53, you just really can't recommend any of these, even the ones that are spiky, like this one that's got 20 resilience. That's good and all, but 58, I mean, that just sucks. So all the armor this week is pretty bad. So we're not even going to look at Hunter and Warlock, because I can tell you, it just looks like this. I don't even know if any of the classes got into the 60s on any of their armor piece, which is crazy. So yeah, really bad armor this week. Bad Xur, bad. And with that is Where is Xur this week. So hopefully this video was useful to some of you guys. We will be back next week. I'm also working on a raid guide for Root of Nightmare. If you haven't done that yet, you can check out my raid guide, which will be going live hopefully next week. We'll see. And until then, for everything related to Destiny, stick with IGN.